Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thanks for joining today's webinar. My name is Ting, the project manager of QP Software. I'm in charge of managing technical projects from ground up to the final delivery. So today, our topic is website localization and optimization for the Chinese market. If you are a business owner or a manager who planning to localize your website to the Chinese market, I believe today's topic is a very good start point. Just a quick introduction about our agenda today. So we will cover 3 sections. First section is hosting an ICP, why hosting in mainland China is preferred, and other hosting solutions. Also, I will introduce you 3 categories of ICP registrations and their differences and requirements. Secondly is UI UX adaptation. I will share with you a few good examples that you can take into consideration. And third one is technical requirements, which the most popular Chinese payment method you can consider implement to your e-commerce website. Secondly is assets for page speed optimization. Lastly is replace blocked APIs with the Chinese ones. Please kindly aware that each of these sections can be a very big topic, big few hours. So today is just a global view for you to have an idea about this mission. Now let's move to hosting ICP. So why hosting in mainland China is preferred? Firstly, server located in China, you don't need to go through the Great Firewall. So this can ensure you better performance. Secondly, can minimize the risk of being blocked. Like if your website has political sensitive keywords or you host under a blocked domain or IP range, this might lead your website to be blocked without notification because Chinese government has a right to block any website that hosts outside of China. Now you might asking me, I don't have a Chinese business license registered, but I still want to present my service or selling my products to the Chinese users. Can I host elsewhere, like outside of China? The answer is yes. So usually we recommend our clients host in Hong Kong. Why Hong Kong? So firstly, Hong Kong as part of China, it has a close connection with the mainland China in terms of the and legal requirements. And geographically, Hong Kong more closer to mainland China. So compared to the website hosting in mainland China, the loading speed will not have very much difference. Of course, you can consider servers in Japan, Korea, or Singapore, but the cost will be relatively higher. But if you decided to go on this direction, you should be ready to deal with some downsides, like I just mentioned, the risks of being blocked. And if you're running business like online gaming or live streaming, have a higher risk. I still recommend you and can ensure you better performance. Now I want to introduce you a few hosting providers in China. First, we also call Aliyun. Because they have very nice and efficient online customer support, and they have tons of online help documents. If you encounter any issues, just by look through the document, you can solve by yourself most of the time. Of course, you can also consider like servers, like a provider like Tencent Cloud or CNET or AWS China, Azure China, and others. Next one is select available domains. So in China, commonly used domain is .cn or .com.cn. Here I place a screenshot. It's the Chinese Internet Domain Name Structure. So they have listed all type of domains that are approved by the government that you can use for applied ICP. Also at the left corner, I place a source. So later we will share with you the presentation. You can follow the link, look in detail. You've heard me mention the ICP. So ICP stands for Internet Content Provider. It's a way that Chinese government controls information enters China. So if you have ICP approved, means your China-based websites are legally allowed to operate within the country. And you, of course, you are responsible for the information and the data that on your website. So here I placed 3 samples just to show you how it looks. And the first one is ICP filing. We also call it ICP ban. So once you have this ICP filing approved, you will have an ICP filing number, which you need to place under the footer of your website and link to MIIT official website. And the second one is ICP commercial license, and the third one is EDI, stands for Electronic Data Interchange Certificate. Now, I will walk you through each of them, their differences and requirements in detail. So first one is ICP filing. Like I said, it's also called ICP Bei'an. So it's applicable for individual and corporate applicants who is operating non-commercial internet information services. For example, if you are a university, you have a corporate website producing marketing content on your website without any e-commerce functionalities. The processing time for this one is around 30 days, and you should have this approved before your website go live. And second one is the ICP commercial license. It's applicable for companies that operating commercial internet information services. For example, it's a retailer with e-commerce, you're selling your service or products through the payment gateway like Union Pay, Alipay, and WeChat Pay. So for this one, the processing time is around 60 to 90 days. And before you apply this ICP commercial license, you should apply your ICP filing first. And requirements for this license also quite strict. For example, if you are, you should have a business entity registered in mainland China, and local companies or joint ventures, the foreign partner ownership should less than 50%. And the third one is EDI, Electronic Data Interchange Certificate. It's applicable for companies or marketplaces in running C2C, O2O businesses. Typical example like big platforms like Tmall or Taobao. They are processing online data and transactions. They have multiple vendors selling their goods or services on the web platform. And the processing time for this one is also around 60 working days. Same as the previous one, before you apply the certificate, you should have your ICP filing approved as the step 1. So this is the hosting and ICP section that I want to cover. Now let's move to the content part, which is UI UX adaptation. So to achieve the best result in China, you should understand culture and user behavior differences. To have massive amount of information or links on a single page used to or continues to affect user behavior in China. But recent years, we're receiving more and more requirements from our potential clients. They're asking us to proceed the UI UX design with less text and more media. And they want a simple and elegant look and feel. They want an easy navigation strategy to ensure their user always have very quick access to their content or information on the website. So I will share with you a few good practices that you can take into consideration. And lastly, I also want to highlight the mobile-first strategy, why it is important in China. Now let's move to the examples. I took this one from the Lanco official Chinese website. As you can see, they are using full weight background with gradient. Left side has 3D image, right side has logo, 2 lines text, and a call to action. And with the slideshow, it offers you different approaches. You can highlight your promotions, your products. I believe you also commonly see a lot of companies, they put high resolution video on the front page, around 10 seconds or 20 seconds or even less. They play on a loop. So this way you make the user easier to follow, more entertaining, and can stir the emotions more effectively. And the second one is the card-based design interface. This is not something new, it's been around for a while. And a lot of websites are doing this way. Firstly, with the card-based design interface, you make user easier to scan the content. You combine with images and a snippet of text instead of full text with all the information. User can quickly get bored. And secondly, cards are easy to resize and rearrange. Can make you easier to create the responsive design. And lastly, you can add animations on the cards. For example, you can see from the example here, they have a hover effect with a play button. So this, you make the browser experience more delightful. User willing to stay longer in website Explorer. So this way you can enhance your user engagement. And next one is the navigation. I took example from Xiaomi because we all know Xiaomi is a quite big platform. So just to show you the importance of an easy-to-use navigation strategy. As you can see, they're using a horizontal expanded navigation structure. The first level just product different type of products, and the second level one product image and the product name. From here, you can directly access to the product detail page, and you can access work on the checkout, etc. So as I said, I want to highlight the mobile-first design, but before that, I think it's also useful to mention a bit of responsive design, because these two, they all start from the primitive user user. And for example, if your user has more chance use the desktop, so you need to put the desktop version as the priority, put more effort on the user experience, then scale down to smaller screens. But in the case of China, Chinese users has more chance to use mobile devices because our daily life are seamlessly connected with our mobile phone. So you need to put more effort on the mobile device to ensure offer user excellent user experience. Then you adapt to the bigger screens. Here, I also want to share with you the statistics according to the China Internet Information Center's statistic report on the network development of 2020. Among 940 million of internet users in China, 932 of them access the internet via the mobile device. So that's already 99.2% of all internet users. So if you really want to enter the Chinese market, have a mobile-first strategy is not just a good practice, it's also absolutely necessary. So now we move to the last section, which is the technical requirements. I will introduce you the most popular payment method in China that you could consider implement to your e-commerce website, and assets to optimize the page speed, and lastly, replace blocked APIs with the Chinese ones. Now let's move to the first one. So Alipay is the most popular payment method in China. It consumes 55% market share. Second one is WeChat Pay consumes around 38% of market share. You might wonder why I don't mention MasterCard or Visa card, because those are not popular here. So in your e-commerce website in China, I highly recommend you implement the top 3 payment method: Alipay, WeChat Pay, and UnionPay. I also want to mention a bit the cross-border e-commerce in case you're running a related business as well. For example, you are overseas company, you're selling products to China. You might want to receive RMB from your Chinese customers and convert to US dollars or euro and receive by your overseas bank account. Also, your products arrive in China need to deal with the Chinese custom. So here comes the third-party payment provider into handy. They can make your business really much easier. Like they can help you to on the conversion exchange and help you deal with the custom declaration. Here I listed two providers. The first one is GoAllPay and the second one is Yaban Pay. Their business covers around over 40 countries, and we've been working with them for a lot of projects together. So if you're running cross-border e-commerce business, I recommend you can also consider these two payment providers. And the next one is optimize page speed. Like I mentioned, hosting in China is already a huge plus, can ensure you a better performance. Secondly is optimize your content type. Like always compress your images before you upload to your website. Secondly, avoid use too many different fonts or your fonts directly on the server. Also optimize your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. To improve your performance, please also ensure you have a clean JavaScript and load your JavaScript at the bottom of the page right before the closing tag, and have a minimal HTTP request and avoid URL redirects and etc. Lastly, you can also consider content delivery network. We commonly call it CDN. So CDN is a system with multiple server instances containing the same files or websites. So based on your current location, the website loads from the server that offers you the best performance. So you can consider a China-friendly CDN to assure your user, to allow your user access information or content faster because it's sending from a server nearby. And last one is replace blocked APIs. API stands for Application Programming Interface. So it's a documented function which allows you to exchange data or access features of other services via the internet. For example, your website will commonly implement or Google Maps or Baidu Maps. You're doing this by connect with them according to the Google Map or Baidu Maps API documentation and make it work on your website. You don't need to develop a map by yourself from scratch. So here I mean replace blocked APIs. Like by the time you localize the website to China, you need to replace Google related services with Baidu related services because Google related services are blocked. Also, you replace YouTube with Youku, Twitter with Weibo, and WhatsApp with WeChat. You might asking, how do I know what services are blocked on my website? So there are a lot online tools. You can just input your domain name, and they will tell you what services are blocked. And secondly is the dev tool. This requires some technical skills. I just want to show you the possibility. So you just right-click on your web page, click the inspect, then you will land on this interface. You need to pay attention on the red text. Those are things that are not loading. So you need to look into details. If it's a certain service that you're using, but it's not working in China, then you need to replace with the one that works properly in China. So that's all I want to cover today. Just quick summarize. So we have spoke about hosting ICP, why hosting mainly in China is preferred, and other hosting solutions. 3 categories of ICP registrations, their differences and requirements. Second section is UI UX adaptation. I've shared with you a few good examples you can take into consideration or take as a reference. And last one is technical requirements. The most popular payment method in China you should implement to your e-commerce website, and the assets for page speed optimization, then replace blocked APIs with Chinese ones. So as you can see, it's a quite complex topic which requires preparation and technical knowledge. If you need help on this mission, please feel free to contact us. We are QP Software. Our website is qpsoftware.net. Also, you can follow us on LinkedIn and the WeChat official account. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. I think I need to pass to the host. 1 second.
Yep. No, thank you, Ting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick and Ting, for your fantastic insights today as well. So just a reminder that this webinar is recorded, so people can obviously go back and check the insights a bit later as well. If you guys can just unmute yourselves, Nick and Ting, and put your cameras on, I'll just ask you for a bit of Q&A. So I guess my first question, Nick, is just for you, right? So obviously you work with a lot of international businesses. You have mentioned that it's very important to localize, not just translate. So you're not just copying the content, you're obviously culturally trying to localize that sort of information, right? So can you just talk a bit about your process? So when you talk to an overseas business, they don't have a Chinese website, how do you work with them to localize the right messages?
Okay. Well, during the last 4 years, we've been working with many foreign companies. And but every company, their situation is different. Some of them, they kind of have some employees maybe in Hong Kong, or they have some people from China but living in foreign countries. They can speak Chinese. They do translation with their employees, and then but the thing is, like, they don't have Chinese websites. They just, have the .com website, and then they have a subdomain, the /zh, and they put they work with the Chinese employees to do the translation, and they put the translation on their .com website, but only with a subdomain. That can be because many customers they work like that. I have some customers from German, or even some we have some business partners from Beijing. They also work like that. Their customers they also do that, but they can have an issue by doing that because you don't have the Chinese website, which means your server is not in China. So for your Chinese target audience, when they go to your website, they need to go to the .com website apparently. And they will go to the subdomain /zh. They can read the Chinese, no problem with that. But the thing is, as many of you may know, because in China people don't use Google, and many of them needed to have VPN to even access your website. I mean, you have the content is there, but they need to use VPN to access your global website. And I mean, many people in China they don't even have VPN. So and many of the companies, their translation, because they work with their employees, and their employees maybe they're from Hong Kong, because some companies in Singapore they also do that. Their employees are in Singapore or in Hong Kong. They're not native Chinese, to be honest. And I mean, no offense, but they speak English, they speak Chinese, but they're like the wording they use, the terminology are different if you're not in China, because you're not really familiar with those terms. Apparently, if you have a website in China, your server is here. Your website is going to load faster, and it's better to work with, let's see, if you're going to German, you better work with a German translation company. If you're going to China, you better work with a translation company in mainland China, so they can, because they are here, they have the knowledge, they are in a market. They know the customer behavior, the term your target audience uses to search on Baidu or even Google. So that's why it's very important to have websites in China. Yeah.
Good. All right. Thanks, Nick. I think it also answers my question about my follow-up question would have been about, some companies that are overseas will have a website overseas that has Chinese content, Chinese translation, but isn't really hosted here. So, what is the benefit for them to host? So I think you've answered that question as well. My next question is for you, Ting. So, you mentioned that when it comes to like user experience and design, it's a mobile first strategy for Chinese businesses, just so it's really flexible, right? So I think the question that I have is, what is the role of websites in China's ecosystem? Because if it's very mobile focused, are websites still just as important? What is the role of websites in China's ecosystem for digital?
Sorry, can you repeat your questions?
Yeah. So your question was, yeah. So you're obviously, I think in your presentation, you mentioned that for user experience, mobile design is very important, right? To have flexibility so that, mobile design works, website design works. But the mobile is very important because everyone spends all their time on mobile apps. So I suppose the question is, what is the role of websites? Because, it's less website focused, more mobile focused. So what's sort of the importance of websites?
Actually, even the mobile is very important, like most people access from the mobile device. But still, the desktop version, people were thinking, it's officially, so visually you can, it's more about the user trust. So the access from mobile, often I believe a lot of people, they want to to know more about a company. They would like to go to Baidu or Google to just see if they have a very good desktop version website as well.
Yep. Okay. So it's more about credibility, right? Just making sure
exactly.
Yeah.
From my point of view, yeah.
Okay. And I have a bit of a technical question that someone sent through, right? So obviously, websites are hosted overseas on like Amazon Web Services in Australia, right? So if they want to come to China, how would they do that? Would they use the same service? Would they switch?
Actually, no, because AWS China is they are totally disconnected with their global ones, even though they have most services covered. But in China, the AWS China, they're like Beijing, they're operating by Chinese provider called CNET, and in Ningxia, they're operating by NWCD, it's another Chinese hosting provider. So you cannot share the same account. It's a Chinese account.
Yeah. Okay. And I was interested to sort of see that your presentation, there's different types of like ICPs, right? There's the ICP commercial license for businesses that can sell, and then there's the ICP businesses that perhaps aren't doing e-commerce, right? So you mentioned that if you're overseas, you can still set up and host an ICP, but the commercial license is just for businesses that have a legal entity, right? So they have to have a WFI or they have to have a JV to have a commercial license, right?
Actually, for these three categories ICP, you all should have a Chinese registered entity. And for the ICP filing one, you can just, even if you are WFI, you're fine. But for the ICP commercial license or EDI, you need to have a business entity registered. WFI doesn't work. So I can just give another quick summarize how it works. So for the representative offices are not, it's not allowed to have this ICP commercial license, because for the representative office, the owner, the holder doesn't allow to generate direct revenue. And for the WFIs, because it contradicts with the requirement of this license, the foreign partner ownership should be less than 50%. So if you're holding WFI, you cannot apply the ICP commercial license, either EDI.
So basically then to really have a localized website, you would have
Yes.
to have a business operation here.
Exactly.
It wouldn't be the other way around. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay. My question next is really to Nick, right? So obviously, if you're localizing the content, how do you sort of see traffic? So obviously, if you localize the content, you're trying to target, the Chinese audience better, right? So once you've done that, how have you sort of seen the results?
Well, both Baidu and Google, they have their own tools to monitor the traffic. So by using the tools, you can see how many traffic you have from which web page or which article you posted on your website. And of course, I mean, if you only have the .com website and you have a subdomain /ch, you put the Chinese content there. But I would see more than 90% of the Chinese citizens, they don't have VPN. They don't have the access to your to Google. Most of the time they couldn't access your website. So even if you have the content in Chinese, then more than 90% of the time people couldn't read it because they don't have access.
Right. So it's more about the optimization of the search engines.
It's about you're gonna have the the server and everything in China, so people don't need to use VPN to go to your website, because even us, we work with many European companies, and sometimes when they send us an email, we want to check their website, so we take the domain name and we go to Baidu, but it just won't load. So you have to turn on your VPN and then you go to the global website. But I mean, in Shanghai, okay, many people, they have VPN, but imagine in many other provinces, they don't even know what is VPN. Yeah, so it'll be way much easier if you have a website in China, the server is in China. People don't need to use VPN to access your website. Your website can be easily found on Baidu, and then I mean, if you don't have, you can still use Google Analytics to monitor the traffic went to your /zh subdomain Chinese site. You can have the result, and in comparison, you can, if you have a website in China, you can use Baidu Tongji. Baidu Tongji is similar to Google Analytics, and you have all the data. This article has 100 organic visitors in a week, and this web page has how many visitors, and then you can tell like which article, which topic is attracts the most traffic, and then you can switch, like you know the trend from the analytics, and then you can switch your topic to target more potential customers in this topic or in a specific industry. By doing that, it can really help you to grow your business in China. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks, Nick and Ting. I think that basically wraps up the questions that I had for today. So I appreciate the insights and the answers. So thank you, guys. I'd like to thank Nick from HiCom and Ting from QP Software for their time today. Obviously, if anyone has any questions, feel free to shoot that through to OSCHAM, and we're happy to connect you guys directly to the speakers. And again, this webinar is recorded, so you can obviously play back information, but I do encourage you to speak to both Ting and Nick to discuss, translation, localization, and optimization a bit further as well. So that just about wraps it up. You will shortly see a slide come up on your screen featuring our upcoming event on the future of digital currency, electronic payment. That's driven and presented by our Financial Service Committee. So I encourage you to follow that and also follow OSCHAM Shanghai to stay up to date on the latest happenings. So as always, the Chamber would also like to thank our Platinum members for their continued support. And that's basically it for us today. So thank you to OSCHAM Beijing as well for co-hosting and for all of you for joining. We'll see you next time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, members and friends.